Working the glutes, Mrs. Schmulowitz panted, up and down, up and down. Melting chicken fat like it's going out of style. Her joints sounded like somebody stepping on broken glass. Careful you don't hurt yourself, Mrs. Schmulowitz. Don't you worry about me, Bubby. I taught physical education for 61 years. And the first rule of physical education is if your legs don't feel like they're falling off your body, you're being a lazy schlep. With her lime green high tops, raspberry leggings, tangerine leotard, and a blue New York Giants sweatband, she looked like an 88-pound Jell-O parfait, one topped with a thinning frizz of hair dyed the color of straw. She sprang off the floor like a woman a third her age, toweled the sweat from her brow, and patted my cheek. So, how was Los Angeles? Then she caught sight of Savannah walking in behind me. And look who you brought back with you, only the most beauteous gal in the whole world. You're looking lovely as ever, Mrs. Schmulowitz, Savannah said. The two embraced before Mrs. Schmulowitz took a step back and gave her the once-over. Savannah was wearing flat-soled Roman sandals, leather straps snaking up her supple calves, and a pleated peasant skirt. Her perfumed, hennaed tresses cascaded over the shoulders of a simple sleeveless white cotton blouse. I'm going to tell you something, Mrs. Schmulowitz said. If I'd looked that crazy sexy when I was your age, I would have blown off the whole teaching gig and gone straight into porno. My only problem was they hadn't invented movies yet. People back in my day sat around the campfire telling stories. Right, I said. The campfire. In Brooklyn. You're not that old, Mrs. Schmulowitz, Savannah smiled. Not that old? What, are you kidding me? You know that key Ben Franklin stuck on the end of his kite? It was to my apartment on Bay Parkway. I tried not to laugh. It would have only encouraged her. Savannah and I are flying up to Lake Tahoe tomorrow, I said. We're getting remarried. She was momentarily speechless and obviously delighted. It was the first time I'd ever seen Mrs. Schmulowitz at a loss for words. Mazel tov! May the both of you find as much joy as I did with my third husband. Okay, granted, said a man could get a little kinky at times. You'd take the good with the bad, am I right? Mrs. Schmulowitz pecked us both on the cheek, then gave me an affectionate, coach-like slap on the butt. Way to go, Bobby. Smart move. She's a keeper. I politely declined her offer to cook us a celebratory dinner. My plan was to take Savannah out that night, somewhere romantic. Then at least let me watch your cat for you while you're away, Mrs. Schmulowitz said. Unless, of course, you want him in the wedding. I can see it now, that Meshuggah kitty coming down the aisle, the ring tied around his neck. A kitty ring bearer. You could get on the internet. You could get on Letterman. As if on cue, my cat, Kidiot, so named because no feline in history was ever more intellectually challenged, came strolling in from Mrs. Schmulowitz's kitchen, looking like an orange balloon mounted on short, skinny legs with a pipe cleaner tail that stuck straight up. He made little chirping sounds like he was happy to see us. He even allowed Savannah to scratch his ears for a few seconds before glancing over at me with a look that I interpreted as disgust, flicked his tail, and strolled nonchalantly back into the kitchen. He's decided he enjoys chopped liver, Mrs. Schmulowitz said. The secret Schmulowitz family recipe. He prefers it on rye bread. Toasted? Of course toasted. How else is anyone supposed to eat chopped liver? In the next life, I most definitely want to come back as my cat. A resort community as affluent as Rancho Bonita isn't hurting for fine dining. California Street, the main drag, which ambles up from the beach for a tree-canopied mile before doglegging inland, boasts dozens of restaurants where dinner and drinks can run more than a monthly car payment on a new Mercedes. They're not the kind of eateries that locals like me typically frequent. Mexican greasy spoons that serve up $6 smothered chili verde burritos fat as bricks, the kind that camp out in your gut like squatters, leaving you convinced you'll never eat again. Mrs. Schmulowitz suggested that I take Savannah to Bel Cibo, an intimate white tablecloth Italian joint overlooking the water.